trial making some coconut bounty bars here today. So I don't have all my usual equipment that I'd use, but I'm going to try and make it just what I have, like with my magic bullet and stuff like that, rather than my food processor. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to take 1.5 cups of coconut. And I'm just using desiccated coconut today because that's what I have, the fat coconut milk. And I'm going to use 3 tablespoons to start with and see how it goes. I can put it straight into here. I don't know why I keep tipping everything into the jug. 2, 3, and then I need 3 tablespoons, I reckon, of coconut oil. 1, 2, 3. I'm just hoping my quantities are right so it's not too dry, and because it's so hot up here I have to keep my maple syrup in the fridge, and I'm going to put 2 of these in, I reckon. Now, because I don't have a food processor out here at the moment and I'm just using my little magic bullet, I'm going to mix this up in here and then put it in there and do it in batches, but for you, you could do it straight into your food processor. So I've just put probably about 3/4 of a cup in there, and let's see how that goes. So you can see that's starting to come together a little bit because we want it to be able to stick together nice and not be dry. So we'll give that another little go. Yep, that's looking a bit better. Just make, yep, see that sticking together? So I'll be able to make little bars out of it. That's good. So now I've just got to do it in batches until I've got the whole jar done. Last one. Beautiful. Yep. Tap that on the bench, and that is turning out. So I am going to put these back into this large bowl. It'll just be easier to work with. I'm going to grab this container, which seems really big, but what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to use it upside down so that I can put my little bars on here, put this lid over the top and put it into the freezer. Now if you have a baking sheet, you can use that, or just use a bit of baking paper. Alright, now I'm just going to squish this together with my hands to make it into almost, not a dough, but you know what I mean, so it just holds together a bit more. Gets any of those flaky bits that were missed. This will stick together much better if you're using a food processor. I'm going to wet both my hands. Just wetting my hands so that they're wet but not like soggy wet. Just help this to come together a bit better. I actually think it needs a bit more coconut oil. I'm going to use a bit more coconut milk and just put that in there. I'm going to put in another tablespoon, and then you can see our coconut oil here is liquefied. I'm going to put in another tablespoon of coconut. And again, I think this is because I'm not using a food processor, so it's not turning the coconut into a butter as such. So hopefully this helps. I'm just going to mix it with my hand rather than put it back through the bullet. Okay, that's coming together much better now. So you can do these as big as you like. I'm doing them about this big because then they make great little treats. Once these are all done, we'll pop them in the freezer, and I'd probably leave them in there for about 20 minutes to firm up and harden up. That coconut oil will go solid, and then you can melt your chocolate and dip them in chocolate. I just realized I have my chocolate mold out here, so I'm going to try and do a few into here and see how they go, because I'll be able to freeze them in the mold and then pop them out in that beautiful round shape to then cover in chocolate. Okay, so I've decided to use this mold, and look, they fit in there perfectly. And I'm going to pop that into the freezer, and then I ended up pinching some back of these, and I've only got a few left over to try with these, but I think for me they're going to work best in this way. I'm just going to pop these in the freezer. Hi, it's a new day, and I am going to coat my little coconut discs and little nuggets in chocolate today. So it is so hot. I'm in a shipping container. It's like 35 to 40 degrees. So yesterday I had to knock off, and I'm going to do it today. It is still really hot, so I'm going to do it nice and quick. I've just got a water bath in here, so just water about quarter of the way up in the saucepan, bowl on top. This bowl is extremely large. It's the only bowl I have out here at the moment, and I'm going to melt my chocolate into it. So I'm using this chocolate that I find at Coles. Otherwise you can make your own. And this is dark chocolate. And basically, I'm just going to tip it in here to melt. You don't want it too hot. Oh, the cat thinks I've got biscuits. She just ran in. I'm just going to stir it until it melts down, and then take it off, let it sit for a sec, and I will then dip my little discs in it. I've still got them in the freezer so that they stay nice and cold. I'm just giving it a stir. You can see that my bowl is ridiculously large for what we're doing. All my smaller bowls are in town. But as we move out here more and more, I'll have more of my things out here. So I'm just making do with what I have. Just make sure it's not too hot. I'll pick it up and show you. I've just got water underneath, and that's just come to a light simmer. And then I'm just going to stir my chocolate down until it becomes nice and shiny, smooth and glossy. You can see the chocolate is getting glossier and smoother. It still has a few lumps in it, so it's not going to take much longer now, and this has only taken a minute or so. Try and keep the chocolate together as much as you can. Stops it from drying out, but also make sure you don't get any water in there, and that includes steam, because it'll make your chocolate split and sort of curdle, and it won't be nice. Okay, you can see the chocolate now is nice and glossy, nice and runny, and I'm going to get my little coconut bits ready and coat them. Okay, so in this one I've set up the camera so that you can see what I'm doing rather than my face, because it's more important you see what I'm doing. Here is our little I was going to say squares, but our little pucks, you could call them. So that's the coconut. I'm going to put that into my chocolate mix and coat it. Just flip it. In town, I have beautiful little chocolate tools, but here we're using what we've got. So I'm going to use fork. Hello, Sally.
How you going?
Good.
Oh, fucking well. All on your own?
No, Blairo's inside.
Oh, no, see.
So I had a friend turn up while I was making the chocolates, but here are the finished product. I ended up adding a little bit of coconut oil to my chocolate so that it would sort of be a bit thinner and a bit easier to work with. But how good is that?